Hey everybody, how you doing? Jamion back at you again this Monday Motivated Matters. Hope that you're in a good place, in a safe space this December 20th. Christmas is almost here, y'all. I could feel it. I could feel it. But I hope that you all had a chance to go look back at last week's video. We talked about what vulnerability meter do you have? Would you say that you're extremely vulnerable with your emotions or maybe not so much? And we talked about how vulnerability is the inverse relationship to self-esteem. The more vulnerable you are emotionally, the lower your self-esteem, and the least vulnerable you are, that means you have high levels of self-esteem. And we talked about that. Go check it out. It was a dope video. We want to continue to keep talking about vulnerability because, again, like I said, all these topics will continue to build on each other. I love this topic so much. I'm so excited about it. Can't you tell? But today I want to continue to talk about vulnerability and what it means to me. I think about last week and how we talked about bosses that I've had in the past and some that were, very vulnerable bosses and some of them not so much, and just the differences, right? And I start to also think about relationships and my vulnerability with relationships. And the best analogy I can share with you is I kind of build this up for you before we land the plane. So when you think about when you're extremely vulnerable person and have low levels of self-esteem when it comes to, let's say, love, you start to put these protective layers on, right? You start to create something to protect yourself. Almost like, let's think about it like a alarm system at your house. You just got a new house, right? Or maybe you live in the hood, or maybe you live somewhere where you need to think about securing your family, so you start thinking about, how do I secure my house? So you go get a security system because you feel like your house is quite vulnerable to people coming in. Oh, this is going to be so good, y'all. You're feeling quite vulnerable. So you get an alarm system, right? And what does that alarm system do? It triggers and lets you know when something is out of place or somebody's trying to break in, right? It gives you some indicator to know that, okay, something needs to happen. I need to respond to this. Think about that alarm system and start to apply that same thing when it comes to your emotions. You've got this heart, right? And you're walking through some relationships and they don't start to go so well, and you've been hurt over the course of your lifetime. So you start to build this security system around your heart. It's like a shell, it's like a shell, like a turtle or something like that. And when you walk into these next relationships, you look for triggers, you look for indication, you look for indicators to tell you like, uh-oh, my alarm's going off. Okay, time to go back into my shell because I got to protect myself. Does this make sense? Some people live their life that way, where they constantly are in relationships too long, or they're not in relationships long enough. They pretty much, as soon as something doesn't go well for them or something doesn't go their way, they're out of here. And I've lived a significant portion of my life that way. With my relationships, I'll be honest, where I developed this security system around my heart because I had been hurt a couple of times over the course of my lifetime. And so it pretty much protected me to make sure that I wouldn't be hurt again. So if you weren't acting the way I wanted you to act, or you didn't treat me the right way, I'm out of here. Or I'm never going to really give you all of me. Like so many women would tell me, like, I really enjoy being with you, Jay, but I feel as though I can never penetrate that shell. I could never penetrate that shell because I was scared to let people in. Just like that security system, you scared to let people in. And you can apply that to your life. And I'm applying that to just dealing with vulnerability. It's about letting people in, right? But it's also about learning how you handle people once you let them in. Oh, this is so good. This is so good. This is so good. I'm on fire right now because I want to keep talking about this, but it means so much. I want you to think about your lifetime and think about that shell that you've created around your heart. Or maybe it's a shell around something else. Maybe it's how you deal with people. You go into a shell because you're an introvert. Or maybe you have a hard time dealing with conflict. So you go into a shell and so you don't want to deal with it. And you kind of just push people away whenever they run into conflict with them. You see, these are all areas of vulnerability that we experience. Just because you're vulnerable in a certain area doesn't mean that you're a completely vulnerable person. Don't take it as a negative, but you need to understand it because it makes you a better person and it helps you build higher levels of self-esteem. I hope you see how I feel about this topic, y'all. We're going to keep talking about it, building on it every week. I think it's some great stuff as we walk into 2022 to make sure that your self-esteem is in check. It starts with your vulnerability. Think about this time today. Make sure you share it with your tribe. 6 weeks are coming up. We're going to spend some time with me with some life coaching when we talk about self-esteem. We're going to talk about being vulnerable, understanding where you are on your vulnerability meter. This is important information, y'all. Discounts are coming up this week for our classes and sessions that are happening in 2022. I'd love to have you spend some time with me so I can help you build your self-esteem and self-confidence as well as build your vulnerability to the point where you feel good about everything that you're doing. I look forward to seeing you next week. It's my birthday, y'all. So you know I'm going to drop it like it's hot. I can't wait to see you. Merry Christmas, everyone. Be safe in your travels and your journeys. And think about some of these conversations and have them with your family and friends because they're only going to improve you. Talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.